feel like every time I do a chill video, I'm in this shirt. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with some books that have been on my shelves for a very long time. So early on in my booktube career, if you will, I made a video that's kind of a veterans video, like a TBR veterans video, and I forgot I made that one. So I thought it might be fun to look back on what I had on that list. So I know for a fact that some of the books in that video I don't have anymore, and I never read. Like, I got rid of them because I knew I wasn't ever going to get around to them. I know there's a couple in there that I've read because, like, I have a vivid memory of like 2 books, but beyond that I have no idea. So this is going to be an interesting experience for everyone involved. I just like never get around to reading books that I've had on my shelf forever, and I'm trying to become better at that. I feel like that's something that like a lot of people who like books do. So I want to fix that, and I want to look back and see how bad I was then, because I know that like when I moved into this house, I went through my books like every couple of months to decide if I really, really wanted them, and I got rid of a lot of books that like I've had forever and I never wanted to read, and I knew I was never going to get around to reading. So I'm curious to see what two years ago, 2018 Kelsey maybe, was thinking about these books. But yeah, so grab yourself a hot drink. I have coffee with me today in my lovely Jane Austen mug. It's gonna be a chill video. As you can see, I've got a blanket. Like, we're relaxing today. Alright, so I will do fancy editing things like I did when I was reviewing my 2019 goals, so you guys will be able to see it. But I've got it pulled up, so let's see how bad I did. Now that I have sufficiently taken 10 years to get comfortable, let's get started. I realized there are quite a few books on here that I have had for a very long time. So I thought I'd show you a few of the ones that I've had on here for like years. Like years and years. You guys, it's so bad. And I thought if I showed you some, maybe I'd actually feel bad and read them. So the first one I've showed you before, and that is Sanditon and the Watsons. Now these are... Okay, so the first one's Sanditon and the Watsons, which is a bind-up of 2 books that Jane Austen had never finished before she died. Yeah, I still haven't read those. Like, I've read everything else, like all of her finished works I've read, but like the 2 bind-ups, because there's like no end to them, so I'm a little wary to get into them. But I do have one that is someone else's take on how they think Jane Austen would have ended Sanditon, so I do have like a finished Sanditon, kind of. But yeah, I still have that exact copy of them and everything. Okay, so 1 no already. This is great. This is great. These are 2 beginnings of novels by Jane Austen, but she never finished them. She died before she could. And I've had this for at least a couple years. I feel like I'm not a true Austen fan if I don't know what everything she's ever written is about. I need to get on these. So the next one is the second in a series, and that is Where She Went, which is the sequel to... Yeah, so the second one was Where She Went, which is the sequel to If I Stay, and I actually have it like right here. So yeah, the second one was this one, which is Where She Went by Gail Forman. This is the sequel to If I Stay, and I actually read this one. I read this one relatively soon after making this video, I remember, because I used to double stack my books, so the ones that were hiding in the back, I never saw them, and I remember this being one of the ones that I like hid behind on like a top shelf, so like I couldn't even see that there were books behind that one. I actually did end up reading this one, and I think I really liked it. I feel like I gave it 3 or 4 stars. I feel like 4 stars is what I ended up giving it. But yay, okay, so I've read 1. I've grown up significantly since I read those books, that some of the problems they have in here, it didn't age well, I don't think. I think if I had read this one now, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. But I think because I was so excited about it, and it was really, really short. Oh, look. It was when I first was tabbing my books, and I had these super thick tabs. Now I've got, like, tabs that are tiny and, like, half that size. Aw. Memories.
So the next one is actually 2 books, but I'm counting it as one because it's a series, and that is the Incarcerate series, which sequel is Sapphic, I believe.
Yeah. I don't own that one anymore. That was a duology that I got when I was in high school. It was around the same time of like when Twilight and the Hunger Games and things like that were really, really popular. So it has that like super young YA feel to it. And I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off. And I just felt like I was old enough that I wouldn't appreciate that style anymore, especially in a book that I'd never read. Like, I can still appreciate them in the books that I read, like Twilight and Hunger Games, but if it was a new work, I don't think I would have liked it, and the more I kept thinking about what the book was about, I didn't really care anymore, so I think I've gotten rid of that one. I don't remember how long ago, but it's been a while since I've got rid of those books. I'm okay with that one, because if I still had them today, I would be surprised and probably would be getting rid of them after this video.
But here I am, again, so long later, and I haven't read them. Oh my gosh. This book came out in 2007. Another one of the books that's been on my shelf for a very long time is called Ophelia by Lisa Klein. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name.
So this one, Ophelia, I definitely don't have anymore, and I also got rid of it because I didn't think I would ever get around to reading it. This one I'm a little bitter that I got rid of. It is a retelling of Hamlet from Ophelia's point of view, and while it is kind of written, it was written a while ago, so it still was written in that time of like younger YA books. I think because of it's not like a fantasy, it's more of like a contemporary, or not contemporary, but like historical fiction book. I think I would enjoy it today. So that's one that like I think I've seen at my library that I've thought about possibly getting again, but it's not like a high priority.
So the next book that I'm going to talk about is another series, and I think I have actually a pretty good reason as to why I haven't read this one yet, and that is the Wicked series by Gregory Maguire.
Bless. Okay, so the Wicked series is one that I've talked about a lot on this channel, and actually like I literally just not that long ago, at the very last video that I did in February, were books I was scared of, and the Wicked series is in that one. So still haven't read that series, but at the time of making this video I still don't think I was quite as seasoned a reader as I am now. I think that I've read a lot more books that have political tones in it, that now I can appreciate the things that happened in Wicked and appreciate the things that are going to continue to happen in that series. So that's one that like my terrifiedness of it, that's not a real word, my like the reason I keep putting it off becomes less and less, because as I grow up I feel like I can appreciate it more, and now it's just like a thing that like I just haven't read it, so it's still there. And I think getting back into him by using like his smaller works, like for example the one that I have is After Alice, which is an Alice retelling, and I think getting into his writing again with that instead of like starting with Wicked again would be good. But that's another one that I haven't read, but I still own that one, and that is one that like I do want to read at some point.
Where the first one is obviously Wicked, the second one is Son of a Witch, the third one is A Lion Among Men.
Oh my gosh, that was when I had the little itty bitty paperback of the third one. I have since gotten the bigger paperback of that one because it was the only one in that teeny tiny paperback, and it didn't match the other four, or the other three, and it drove me crazy. Good times.
And the fourth one is Out of Oz. These are so heavy. I think the reason I haven't finished these is because I did read Wicked in high school. I'm pretty sure I was a sophomore in high school when I read Wicked. This book took me months to get through, to the point where one of my friends in high school started calling me Wicked. Like, that's my nickname from him, because it took me so long to read this book. And I think the problem was I was too young.
It didn't help that when I was reading that in class one day, I was wearing a dress that was black and green, so I even matched the book cover. Why did I ever wear that dress? It was so ugly.
One is in this small mass copy airport style book, and the rest of them are these big ones.
Oh my god, I used to call mass market paperbacks airport style books. I remember that because I'd only ever seen the mass like market paperbacks in airports. I'm learning like so many things about myself, or like remembering so many things about myself.
So the next one is also a series. I have a problem with finishing series, apparently, and I am not holding all of them up. They are way too heavy, but that is the Eragon series. You can see a couple of them right there.
Yeah, I don't have that one anymore either. Okay, so I'd seen the Eragon movie, and I really enjoyed the movie. And this is a thing that I've noticed, because I had a friend who did the exact same thing that I did, is we enjoyed the movie a lot. And then when we read the book was like, okay, but if the people who have read the book first love the book but hate the movie. So I think that's really interesting. But like, the book and the movie are totally different. And so I remember seeing the movie like a long time ago and really enjoying it. And then I was dating some guy in college, and he really loved this book series. And so I said, great, I have them all still. I've read like the first 20 pages of the first one. I'll read the series for you. And so I read the first one, and it was okay. I remember enjoying it. I don't remember loving it, but I remember enjoying it. So I think if I had Goodreads at the time, I would have given it maybe a 3-star, maybe 3.5. And then I remember picking out the second one to start and then never starting it. And then I just never got around to it. And so I had all 4 books on my shelf, and I just wasn't reading them. And so I think I just decided to get rid of them because they were just taking up space. I didn't think I was ever going to get around to them. And again, just like Ophelia, if I had the entire series today, I still don't think I would have read it. So I think that was a good choice to get rid of it.
So the next one I'm going to talk about is Death Comes to Pemberley by P.D. James.
So, haven't read this one, but I do still own it. This one is one that the PBS did a mini-series on this book, and it's a retelling, or it's kind of like an extension of Pride and Prejudice, and then there's a whole murder mystery plot that involves Lydia and Wickham. So I've seen the PBS version, and so I never felt like I needed to read the book, because I felt like PBS does a very good job of sticking to the main material when they do kind of adaptions. All of their Jane Austen adaptions are really good. So I just kind of enjoy this book, and I still have this book, and one day, sure, I'd love to get around to reading this book, because I've never read anything by this author, and maybe they're amazing and I want to read more by them, but I just haven't. And it's one that is not the highest priority for me. So this one is one that I'm actually okay that I haven't read, but I still own this one. This is one of the few that I do still own. Man, I got rid of so many books in this video.
So the next one is again a series, but this time I've not actually started it because I am way too scared. And that is the Lord of the Rings series.
Okay, Lord of the Rings. I've talked about this one a lot already on this channel. I'm terrified to start this series, but I do have the first, the prequel, The Hobbit, in my March TBR. I don't think at this time I owned The Hobbit yet. I think I only owned the series. So this one's on the way to being read. I have found some good audiobooks that I think will really help me along. And that's so funny because it's definitely on my list of most terrified books to read. Man, I haven't looked at this video since I created it, and I'm still have a lot of the same thoughts.
I am a disgrace to nerds everywhere because I haven't picked these up. I'm pretty sure I opened the first one to try to understand it and was just too scared, so I put it back on my shelf and walked away. They're just so well known, and there's just so much world in these books that obviously wasn't in the movies. I mean, he came up with his own language for these books. That's amazing to me. He is so dedicated to his world that he made up another language, or multiple languages. So the next one is a classic that I definitely want to read, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde.
Man, I thought it was going to be one of the ones I read. It's not. I have not read Picture of Dorian Gray. The summer between my junior and senior year in high school, one of the required readings for my AP Lit class was one of 4 options, and one of the options was Picture of Dorian Gray, and so I bought that one. And the more I looked at the list, the more I was actually, because Pride and Prejudice was on that list, and I was Pride and Prejudice is one that a lot of people have talked about. It's a huge classic. I feel like I should read that one instead. And so that's when I picked up Pride and Prejudice, and that's when the love of Jane Austen started. But I'd never actually read A Picture of Dorian Gray, because the more I think about it, the more the idea of the story of, like, him trading his soul and then, like, the picture withering as he gets older, it's bizarre. I feel like a lot of the books in here that I really wanted to read, my, like, reading changes and my TBR ones have totally flopped or, like, switched.
And the last one on this list is gonna get me a lot of hate. And I know that. And that is The Book Thief.
Oh, this is the one I remember.
Please don't hate me. I got this book.
Okay. Yep, this is the one that I remember. I've read The Book Thief, so that's 2 down, but I don't own The Book Thief anymore. I didn't love it. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars because I liked the idea of it. Like, the more I think about it, the more I understand this book. I had read the movies. I had seen the movie, so I knew what this was about. My mom had read this book and really enjoyed it, and so she thought that I would like it. It was on, like my list when I was in, like, middle school to read, and so I eventually did pick this one up. I liked the idea of that it was written from Death's perspective. I enjoyed that to it. I think the problem was it was really, really slow. And the more I think about it, the more it makes sense because it does take place during a war. It shows you how long war is and how, like, sad the world is and all of this stuff. And I did remember crying at the end of the book. I know that the end, like, even though I knew it was going to happen, it, like, broke me still. But it still was just so slow, and I just couldn't get into it. I don't know, there was just something about it that, like, it wasn't amazing, and I wanted it to be amazing. And it's a lot of people's favorites, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I just did love it. I enjoyed it. There were parts of it that I did enjoy. The formatting, like I said, the point of view, that kind of stuff, but it was okay. So I have read 2 on this list. So it's not a total failure. Okay, so that is all the books. So out of the, like, 10 books that I showed you, I'm including, like, each series is, like, 1 book. I read 2, and I didn't read 8. But I did end up getting rid of 7 books. So, like, in series in total. So I'm not upset. I wish the numbers were better. But I kind of knew it wasn't going to be great going into it, but I really wanted to see some of the books that I was really interested in a couple years ago because it's very different than where I think I am today. Now, there are some books on here that have been on my list or have been on my bookshelves forever and probably were on my bookshelves when I made that video and probably should have been on this list, but I think I did the ones that I was the most interested in and not the ones that had been on there the longest. So this was kind of a failure, but I did get rid of a good chunk of the books that were on in that video, so, like, at least I don't still have a lot of them. I know my tastes, and so I got rid of some that I knew that I wasn't going to get around to. But I did read a couple, so at least I read something. I hope you enjoyed this video a little bit, maybe? I don't know. I thought it would be fun to film, so let me know your thoughts on any of the books. If you've heard any of the books that I talked about, I'd love to know what, like, it's a book on your shelves that is, like, the oldest book that you still haven't read. Thank you guys for sticking around and watching this. I don't know if it's entertaining or not, but it was fun to do. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I have all my social media down there as well if you would like to follow along on any of those, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!